if you want us to turn to a partner and talk, if you want us to get into a group, if you want us to stand up or sit down, just go through that language so that, we kind of have an idea of what you're going to do. And Al and I are pretty good at playing along and answering questions as if we were whoever you wanted us to be. So just have fun with it. And, we usually say about 20 minutes, but you don't have to, stop right exactly at 20 minutes. It's just to give you a pretty good guide of how long the intro should take.
Okay.
Some or more. So whenever you're ready.
Here we go. All right. Well, welcome to today's PCA workshop. My name is Bekah Rottenberg, and just to give you a little bit of an introduction about myself, I played Division I lacrosse at Brown University. I was captain of my team for 2 years. I was selected as a New England All-American, and I'm currently still in the record books for the 6th all-time points leader. And I was inducted into the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame, which might be the first time that many of you have heard about such a Hall of Fame. And after college, I took a little break from competitive sports, but couldn't stay away too long and quickly dove into the world of mountain biking, where I currently am racing and have raced at the professional level for the past 5 years. As well as I teach full-time and coach lacrosse at my local high school. So that's enough about me. I want to get you guys going here. And the first thing I want you all to do is make sure you sign in for today's workshop. So please go ahead and send a text to the number on the screen up here. It's 650-763-2405. And you need to text 3 pieces of information. So the first one is the hashtag or the £, followed by the event code. And make sure there's no space between the # and the hashtag and the event code. And then we need your name, first and last name, and your email address. So again, those 3 pieces of information. Make sure there's no spaces between the £, and the event code, and no spaces in the email address. So as you do that, I just want to let you know why you're doing it. It's going to give you credit for this course. You'll receive an email tomorrow. And then it's also going to allow you to access the PCA Development Zone website, which provides just a whole bunch of information and resources to you as a coach. You'll also be able to receive weekly emails from the PCA organization. It allows us to track the number of coaches that we provide workshops to every year. So don't worry about, we're not going to share your information with anyone. It's safe with us. But if you don't sign in today, then you're not going to be able to receive credit for the workshop. So any questions about that? Okay, great. And I just want to say I'm super excited to be here. And also I call this a workshop, and really I think of it more as a conversation. I definitely don't want to be the person, up here giving a lecture to you guys. So if at any point someone has a question or a comment, feel free to either raise your hand or just contribute. And we can all kind of grow and learn together. So here we go. Let's get started. Go ahead and just put your hand up if you've been to a PCA workshop before. Okay, great. So we're hopefully going to learn a lot today. And then can you go ahead and, why don't you stand up for me if you're a new coach, if this is the first time you're coaching?
I'm going to stand up.
Okay, great. We've got one new coach. Awesome. And what are you coaching?
I coach 5th and 6th grade lacrosse.
Oh, fun. Cool. Okay. And then, and go ahead, take a seat. Thank you. And then can you stand up for me if you have coached for 3 or more years? All right. Wow. Al, did you stand up? I couldn't really tell.
I did. My hand stood up.
Okay. And what are you coaching, Al?
Right now I'm coaching baseball.
Baseball. And what age level?
Little guys, 11 and 12-year-olds.
Oh, cute. Fun. Okay, great. And then go ahead and stand up if you've coached for 10 or more years.
Kelly.
Okay, wow, great. So round of applause. So we've got some veterans, a lot of experience in the room. Excellent. Okay, so who is PCA? Well, we are a nonprofit that was founded in 1998 at Stanford University. Annually, we train 80,000 or more coaches. We've reached over 3.3 million youth, and we give 2,500 live workshops every year. That's a lot of people. And then we get over 1 million visits to the PCA Development Zone website, which is the website you now have access to because you've logged in and are taking this course today. So I want you to take a minute to think for yourself, what does positive coaching mean to you? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about this. Go. All right, and that was 30 seconds. What do you think? What does positive coaching mean?
I think it's a coach that really cares about the kids, cares about the players as people.
Okay.
And has fun while they're out there doing it.
Has fun. Great. Okay, so they care, they have fun. Al, what do you think?
I think, it sounds like it's kind of a feel-good thing, where the kids are all going to have, cookies after the deal, and that everybody has fun.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, I like cookies. I like fun. And you're right that we want to create a positive atmosphere. But the thing is, we want this positive atmosphere to not only help our athletes improve and become better athletes, but also be better people. And one of the myths that I want to dispel that sounds like you're kind of touching on is PCA isn't actually this touchy-feely organization where after practice we all sit around and hold hands or eat cookies and drink milk. We want to win. And the thing is, the way we emphasize winning is just a little bit different than maybe other coaching tactics that you've encountered or maybe experienced in the past, what we might call a win-at-all-cost approach to coaching. So we're competitive. I hate losing. But the way that we go about emphasizing winning is through teaching life lessons and trying to create an atmosphere that helps our athletes not only be better athletic performers, but also be better people. And there's a tremendous amount of power in this idea of positive coaching. But before we go much further, I want to share some research-based methodologies and talk a little bit about the scientific research behind this power of positive coaching approach that we are teaching you. So I'd like to actually ask some volunteers from our audience to read the first part of this quotation. And just sorry, before you do, this is from Dr. Barbara Fredrickson, who's a psychology professor at the University of North Carolina, who's on the National Advisory Board for PCA. So could I have a volunteer for someone to read the first part of what's on the slide up here?
Sure, I'll read it. It says, there's a perception that the best way to get what you want out of employees or players is by negativity or threats, but negativity doesn't work as well as positivity.
Excellent, thank you. And Al, would you mind reading the second part of this?
I would love to, but I don't quite have it memorized, and I can't see it on my screen.
All right.
Positive emotions are especially contagious, and a leader's positive emotions are more contagious than anyone else's.
Excellent. Thank you. So one of the things for me here, the take-home message is that you, coaches, set the tone and culture for your team. And the more positive you are as a coach, the more positive and upbeat your athletes will be. And I think the thing to remember is that the opposite is also true. Next slide. So there's this growing body of research that dates back 25 years that shows study after study is coming out to support the idea of positive coaching is more beneficial than negative coaching. And there's kind of this, good old days mentality of the coach yells and screams, and if a player is late or makes a mistake, they have to do sprints or push-ups or burpees or whatever. And those days, those are becoming antiquated coaching methodologies. In a lot of ways, the same way we look back and it's like, we used to use asbestos. We had lead in our paint. We've made a lot of mistakes in the past that at the time we thought it was the latest and greatest technology. And today we look back and we know those things weren't effective. And in fact, were quite detrimental. And so positive coaching is the same. And this isn't, kind of some fringe study or movement. This really hit mainstream back in 2015 when Sports Illustrated published this article that shows study after study is really supporting the benefits of positive coaching. And the thing is that we're not the only ones saying this. Like, there's a whole host of elite coaches who agree with this idea of positive coaching. And so if you look up at this slide, you see the faces of some of the greatest coaches around today. And what strikes me is that they wouldn't be doing this. They wouldn't be coaching in this positive manner if it wasn't working. And they get paid to win games, right? So for them, winning is paramount. But they want to do it in a way that builds up their athletes and their teams. All right. So before we go farther down the positivity pipeline, I want us to kind of look at the other side, and think about what negativity does. So again, going back to the research, negativity shows it actually impedes performance. It lowers performance. And I need to remind myself as a coach that negativity can come in a lot of different forms. It's not just yelling and screaming, but it can come in the form of maybe not giving a player playing time without an explanation, or facial expressions or body language. And one example I have of this is when I was a player at Brown, my freshman year, we were playing Penn, University of Pennsylvania. We were there. It was a really close game. And one of our captains actually had the ball. She's running down the field. And I was supposed to clear the lane, as we say, run in front of her, create space. And I didn't do it. And my coach yanks me. She puts me on the bench. She glares at me, doesn't say anything. And then the next game when I went in, all I could think about was don't mess up. Don't do the thing I didn't do before, not focus on the things I had been doing in practice. And so needless to say, I didn't play very well because I just had these negative thoughts running through my head. So I have a question for you. Do you agree that a positive approach to coaching works better and that a negative approach to coaching is really distractive and not beneficial for players?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, raise your hand if you agree. And that doesn't seem like rocket science, right? That's pretty simple and pretty straightforward. So my question for you is, why is there so much negativity in sports? What do you guys think?
For me, the age level that I coach, I used to coach college level and high school level, and now I'm coaching the little guys. And it's the parents. The parents' pressure is ridiculous. I think as a coaching staff, we're pretty positive. I think the kids have a pretty good attitude. But, we're talking about 10 and 11-year-olds, and I have parents flipping out on the sidelines of games, and it's ridiculous. So I think a lot of it comes from the parents, wanting their kids to be perfect or just, I don't know, living vicariously through their kids or something. They just can't handle it. It's crazy.
Okay. So pressure from parents. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of us that coach, especially volunteers, we're just modeling what we've seen before. And a lot of us have only seen professional sports, or some of us that are older were coached by coaches that were, win at all cost coaches. So we don't really have a different way of doing it. Right.
So that's a huge part of what we're doing here today, right? Is really trying to change the patterns that we have experienced, right? And get some proper training about how to be a more positive coach. Because I was the same way. Like, I had a ton of negative coaching or negative coaches in my past. And so the whole point of today is to help you be a better coach, to help your athletes be not only better athletes, but better people, and really give you the tools to do that and kind of change the course of history in a lot of ways. So the tools that we will provide you with come from sport psychology-based research and some of the best practices of the greats, of some of the great coaches out there. And again, just to emphasize, like, some of the best coaches wouldn't be using these practices if it wasn't helping them to win games and to help their individual athletes become better. And what I've started to realize is, like, what better training ground to help people become better and kind of improve character traits than the athletic field. As a teacher, I sometimes feel jealous of coaches because coaches have buy-in. Like, the kids want to be there. They want to go to practice, and we have a captive audience. So, I really see athletics as the training ground for life lessons. And that's what PCA's vision is. We want to produce better athletes and have the end result be better people. So by participating in this workshop today, you're going to get a whole host of support from us and from the PCA organization. You're going to be provided with some research-based, this is our cat. Say hi, Sprocket. Sorry.
The babies, cats, dogs, we're good.
So you're going to be provided with some research-based coaching models to help guide you and inform you in your coaching this year and in the years to come. You're going to get some practical tools, ongoing support in the form of a weekly email. You're going to get this book as a resource. And this book kind of blew my mind. Again, it's not rocket science. And that's really the beauty of it, is that these principles are really simple and straightforward. And by going through them step by step, they become really applicable, and you can put them into action right away in your practices and during your games. Okay, next slide. So I want us to take a step back and think about when we were kids and what our experience as kids was with athletics. Now, we have a room full of coaches, right? So overall, the experiences must have been more positive than negative. And I want to give you 30 seconds to think, what made sports great for you? And then go ahead and just share with a partner here. And if you want to share out, if someone wants to share out so that we can kind of hear, that'd be great. Does one of you want to share?
Sure. I know one of my experiences was really great when I was started in 4th grade, and I had a coach that was really made it fun for us. Our practices were scrimmages. We just scrimmaged. He scrimmaged with us and taught us as he was scrimmaging. And he always believed in all the kids, no matter, whether you were at the end of the bench or whether you're the best starter.
Great. Yeah. So making it fun. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And something that I would say is I felt like athletics helped me feel like I belonged. Like, I was a really awkward kid. Maybe I still am. But I always felt like I had a place on the athletic field. It helped me to fit in. And so that's one of the things that research has actually shown helps athletes excel. And at PCA, we use these three principles that help our athletes improve. And so number one is feeling connected to a teammate or a coach. Number two, having our athletes believe that they can improve. And number 3 is feeling proud and acting with integrity. And so I want you to think for a moment about what do you think would happen if your athletes were to get all 3 of these things?
I think they'd be unstoppable.
Unstoppable? Mm-hmm. Cool. Al, what do you think?
I think they'd be happier about being at practices. They'd try harder. They'd be better teammates. Things would just work better.
Okay, great. So we've got unstoppable and things would work better. Well, guess what? PCA's coaching model is to target these 3 things in practices every day. So again, I'm just going to reiterate them. So number 1 is feeling connected. And the way we do that is through filling something that we call the emotional tank. And that for me was really kind of what made me feel at home on the athletic field and helped me to strive was the connection that I felt with people. And then number 2 is improving. And we know, like, again, going back to the research, that when we improve, we feel a sense of accomplishment. And that's an intrinsic motivator, which has been shown to be much more powerful than extrinsic motivators. And so we do this through an acronym called the Elm Tree of Mastery. And then the 3rd principle is acting with integrity. And we equate this to honoring the game, which emphasizes not only making yourself better, but actually making the game, the sport, better as well. And that kind of takes the idea of athletics and makes it much greater than just the individual or even the team. It's like striving for a higher purpose. So I want us to kind of step outside of ourselves for a moment and hear from another one of the coaching greats, Herm Edwards, who's a huge advocate of the Positive Coaching Alliance, and hear what he has to say about trying to understand your own legacy as a coach.
You can just pretend we watched it.
Okay. So thank you, Herm. All right. So after hearing that, what I'd like for you to do is actually stand up, walk across the room, find someone you haven't spoken with yet, or maybe somebody that you don't know, and go ahead and answer the question, when the book of your life is written, what would you like to have people say about you as a coach? Okay, and so you guys can just share individually. We don't need to share out here. But I think, kind of the point of that is really thinking about what legacy do you want to leave as a coach? And we hope that it's a positive one, right? And that when the book of your life is written, it's chock full of inspiration that athletes received from your coaching. So I know I've had a ton of coaches in my past, and most of them did not have many positive things to say. But I had one coach who had a huge impact on my life, and she took an interest in me. We made a connection, and she's the reason that I went on to play Division I lacrosse. And I strive to be that coach who's remembered fondly. And I believe that every one of you is here today because you too strive to be that coach that players talk about with fond memories. Sitting around the fire, it's like the grandkids are talking about, oh, this great coach that they had. And so at PCA, we want to help you be that great coach. And we have these 2 goals, right? And so the first goal is striving to win. And the second goal is teaching life lessons. And we truly believe that these 2 goals are intertwined and that they support the other. So my questions for you is, number 1, what are some of the life lessons that your athletes can learn from you this season? So go ahead. What do you think about that? What are some life lessons? Yeah.
How to be better teammates, maybe how to, look for things that are going well with the kids around them and actually compliment and praise them.
Great. Awesome.
For me, it's just when you make a mistake, it's just an opportunity to get better. Like, mistakes aren't failure. I find myself saying that over and over and over again. And I think also just how to be part of a team. and what that looks like. It's not always you first. It's, you know, putting the other people in front of you and not being upset if somebody's better than you are, or they get in line in front of you, you know, things like, I think being just how to be part of a team and work together is the biggest one.
Great. And then what about some things kids can learn about while playing sports?
What lessons they can learn?
Yeah, because those were kind of like life lessons, right? But what about lessons they can learn while just playing the actual sport?
Never give up.
Never give up. Yep.
Don't give up till the whistle blows. Don't stop till the whistle blows.
Right. So, yeah, Al, did you have something?
Yeah, maybe understanding your role in the team, and you can't always be a star, but you have a role, and you know, helping the team by playing that role.
Yes. I love that one. I've started to equate teams to ecosystems where everyone has a role. Awesome. So, man, in just a few moments, we've listed some really valuable life lessons, right? That can be taught on the athletic field, all while helping our athletes become better athletes. So I just think it would be such a bummer to pass up these teachable moments because we're so focused on winning. And the cool thing is that PCA teaches that as a double goal coach, you don't have to choose. You don't have to just focus on winning or just focus on teaching life lessons, that we can do both. And so much of the time, these two goals support each other and complement each other, but occasionally they don't. And can either of you think of an example where in your sport or a sport that you've seen where these two goals come into conflict?
Yeah, when I was coaching high school basketball, my best shooter had the worst mouth ever. She was constantly like yelling and screaming at the girls and cursing, and there were so many games where I should have taken her out, and I just left her in and pretended I didn't hear it said, because we were down by a couple points and I just needed her to. She was like my best 3-point shooter. So yeah. I had a lot of trouble taking her out when I had to.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Al, did you have one or no?
Yeah, I think, you know, mine's along the same line, and it's basically about behavior that's, you know, unfitting for the game or for the person that's doing it, and weighing that against, you know, wanting to win.
Yeah. So one of my examples, again, comes from my freshman year at Brown. It was actually our last season of the game, and we were playing Princeton, who was vying for the Ivy title, and they were a much better team than us. And their seniors had just been caught drinking beers in the shower, and so their coach, Chris Saylor, benched the seniors for that game, and they didn't win the game, and they didn't win the Ivy title. And that was just, I mean, wow, what a life lesson to send, right? And she obviously chose the teaching life lessons over striving to win in a incredibly competitive environment.
Mm-hmm. What year was that? Do you know?
That was 2000. Yeah.
Good story.
All right. So that takes us to the 3 principles of the positive coaching, which we will get into next.
Right. Thank you. How'd you feel going through that?
Pretty good. Like a little awkward. I think moving the slides was hard. Just yeah, like the technicality of the slides, and then not always being able to see you guys. And I think the other thing that I was thinking about, which feels awkward to me, is because I didn't produce these slides, they sometimes feel a little bit awkward, or not, like I would change some of the wording or phrases on the slides. And so that throws me off a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I think also, you know, just sitting, and I'm in someone else's house, and
that can be awkward too. Just to let you know, so when we start off with PCA, and we debated about this for a long time, but when we start out, we want you to know our slides, our wording, all that stuff. And I think you did a fantastic job with that. But as you get more comfortable in your own workshop, my workshop that I do is a slightly different order than some of these slides. I've taken out a couple slides that I think are redundant. Some of the phrasing of the questions I've changed. So it's the same principle, the same content, but you know, you can't make one PowerPoint that's going to fit 200 trainers all over the country. So we do give you a little bit of liberty to just change phrasing of things. That being said, there are some trainers that have taken that liberty, and I've watched their workshops and gone, wait a minute, this isn't even similar. Like, that's not going to work. But you know, for little things, you know, I've swapped pictures in and out. Sometimes if I had a story about something, you know, I've thrown in personal pictures of my team just so that, you know, if I'm talking about my team, so they can see what I'm talking about. You know, so that type of a thing. I know it's awkward in the beginning because it's like, well, that's not how I would say that. And as you go through it, as I said, when it becomes your own and you're comfortable with it, you're welcome to change some of the phrasing of the questions around. Like that negativity slide, I totally changed that because that to me seemed really awkward. The way it's like, well, do you agree with this or don't you agree? And then that to me always kind of messed me up. So I just changed, you know, why is negativity detrimental is what I have on my slide, you know. But that you're totally fine to do that. Bekah, I thought you were really smooth and really knew things well. And I don't know if Al's ever, I think you said you've just talked to him on the phone, but I'd love to hear from Al first as the local guy. What did you like about what you did, Al? And what stuck with you? I like to ask what stuck with you because sometimes when I do workshops afterwards, coaches will come up and say, wow, I really love when you talked about this or that. And I'm like, really? That was your favorite part? Like sometimes you don't realize what parts are impactful for people. So I'd love to hear that. What did you like about what she did, Al? What will stick with you? And then what are some suggestions you might have moving forward?
I liked a lot about what you did, Bekah. I thought for your first time presenting that you did fantastic. And all the things you talked about that were obstacles for you are obstacles for all of us when we first do it. Is, you know, we get slide bound. There's things we want to say. It doesn't go with the flow. And as you make this, you know, your own, I think that you're just going to get better. You know, you have great stories. I love the stories. I thought the teachable moments lesson with at the very end, you know, with doing better athletes and better people and how we could do those together. That was really, really good. That might have been one of the best explanations of that in the introduction I've heard. So that was really great. I thought your facial expression, you're very emotive with your face. And I thought that was great, you know, kept us interested. I have like 10 positives that I wrote down. I think I have 2 things I could pick on if I was going to be nitpicky.
Well, so, you got the magic ratio.
Oh, 5 to 1. Yeah. God, Kelly, you must be wearing off on me. So I like I liked a lot of what you did. I liked that. I liked the breakout groups and the interactivity. You know, those were appropriate, especially for the introduction. It's hard because you're just kind of rolling through kind of our, you know, the introduction thing. So I thought that was good. Coaches on the advisory board, I thought you handled that really well. Some of that gets kind of dry, and I thought you did a really good job of making it personal, you know, instead of just these guys are here and they must be great. You made it personal, you know, what you said and why they would do it, you know, motivating. I love that. You did a really good job with, you know, when I threw you the, you know, the thing about, well, I think positive coaching is, you know, cookies. You know, picked that up really well. And I thought you handled it really well. You were respectful of what I said, but also, you know, gave the PCA response that was appropriate. So I just think you're going to get a lot better at this as you make it your own and tell your stories and use your own words. You know, so it's all just double thumbs up from me.
Thanks, Al. Any nitpicky things you want to bring up?
How do I get better?
I think occasionally, I thought your facial expressions were the thing that tied me into it in a large group. That's not going to always be possible. So maybe, and I know you're sitting down, you know, and you've got a small audience, but, you know, the energy level for a larger group would probably have to come up a bit. And I think that might be something that would be a plus for you with bigger audiences. But the other thing that I would have liked to hear in the very first part when you're introducing yourself is why you got involved with PCA. I was waiting for that. And I think that you have so many reasons why that'd be very powerful at the very start of why somebody with that background in education would want to be involved with PCA.
Okay.
So those are two things I think I'd pick out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks, Al.
Yeah.
That's great. I agree. Right off the bat, I think your energy was great. Your choice of words was excellent. As Al said, the way you explain things, it was so simple and so clear. And there's a lot of times when new trainers do this, and I just think, gosh, you're making it so much more complicated than it has to be. And you didn't. It was just very simple and very clear. And I always tell people it's actually harder to make things simple. It's more challenging to simplify concepts than it is to just talk all around them. So I think you did a really nice job with that. I agree. I said the same thing. And maybe I should have said this to you in the beginning, like give us your little why story. But I think that really connects people right away. Like we know your accomplishments. We know you're a high level athlete. We know you're a coach. But why are you here?
Right.
Why wouldn't you be somewhere else? Why are you here doing this? And that's sometimes a really powerful story for coaches because that's something like, wow, why was this important to her? So I agree with that. I'm going to be just nitpicky right up front because I just write my comments in chronological order. The text to sign in, the biggest, just to let you know, everybody in the world has access to the development zone. It's not like they get this free key when they sign in.
Oh,
what they don't have access to is the Talking Points newsletter that automatically gets emailed to them.
Okay.
So that's the only difference, that anybody can reach the development zone. It's nice to say, I've heard trainers say like, hey, you get access to all this, which makes it sound like it's this exclusive thing, but it's just a website. Anybody can go on it.
Okay.
But
so it's the Talking Points newsletter.
The Talking Points newsletter for the next 6 weeks will connect them to, just some great conversation starters to have with your team. It keep, and I always say, I'm going to be done in an hour.
Yeah.
And have the book left with you, but also for the next 6 weeks, you're going to get this newsletter emailed to you that can keep this, fresh in your mind.
Okay.
So just that. But otherwise, I thought that was your text to sign in, spiel was great. I like the way you had us like stand up right away. That's such a minor thing, but just getting coaches to literally physically move is important, because especially when these are on a Saturday morning or these are at night after a long day, I always get that like, I don't want to stand up. But then at the end of the workshop, coaches say, my favorite part was when Kelly had us interacting. And I'm like, well, that's why I had you standing up. So that's something that's good. I like the way you stressed winning. I think that's really important. And you did it really well. Like, I hate to lose. I like to win. This is what it's all about. But there's a great way to do it. And, even at the end, when you connected it to, like, it'd be a real bummer if you wasted the opportunity to focus on winning rather than these life lessons. So I liked your phraseology. The one thing, when you did the video, the Herm Edwards video, right away afterwards, you said, for me, the take home is this. Like, I always say, ask rather than tell if you can. See because the video is actually supposed to give you a break.
Yep.
It's credibility because Herm Edwards is telling you something, telling the coaches. So instead of telling what Herm Edwards meant to you, ask the coaches, what did you hear there? What did this mean to you? What did he say that really struck a chord?
Yep.
Or what resonated with you? Or, what's the take home lesson, I think you said. So just give the coaches a minute to kind of answer it and just think about it. I loved the asbestos and lead paint analogy. I thought that was totally great. I mean, it is antiquated and it is out. And I think you've heard in my demo, I use like the phone, we used to use phones that are attached to the wall. It's just, it makes people kind of sit up and go, you're right. Like, I don't have to do it the same way we've always done it. So I thought that was really great too. And the National Advisory Board, I love that. I've heard a couple different trainers use that, and I use it too, that these people are getting paid. This is their life's work to win. And the coaches that you're going to be doing these workshops for probably aren't. Most of them are volunteers. Their job is not on the line here.
Right.
So if Steve Kerr can use it, I think you can handle it too. It's got to work.
Yeah.
It's really good. The vulnerability was great. A lot of times high-level athletes and high-level coaches forget to tell the coaches their mistakes because they want to be an expert. And I thought you did a nice job by saying, I need to remind myself that negativity comes in all different forms. That was a really honest moment. And that's where coaches are going to connect to you and say, wow, you know what? Thank you for sharing that, because I do that all the time. So I think one of my favorite parts, again, the story, you're a good storyteller. I recorded this. When you watch it back, watch how you explain a principal part versus when you tell a story, and watch the difference in your facial expressions.
Okay.
You go into like teacher mode when it's about material. When you tell a story, you're like, and then, I was supposed to open the lane, and you get so much more animated. Most of us do.
Right.
So just be aware of that we want you to bring as much passion to the rest of it. But there are times when you have to, you know, be more serious. You can't just be high energy the whole time. I always say it's like an orchestra, like a symphony. You know, there's high points, there's low points, there's high energy, there's low energy. But I think, you know, when Al was talking about your facial expressions, it was really obvious when you were telling a story, you were much more into the story, which makes sense.
Yeah.
I would probably also ask the coaches, again, ask, don't tell. You know, this was my story, Brown versus Penn. You know, last time I went back in, I was thinking, man, don't mess up. When's the time you've messed up that you can still remember, you know, and how did that feel? And how did your coach respond when you messed up? And you're going to get a lot of good answers. Some people, adults, are going to say, man, I had a coach that was just like, you know, it's all right, get back in there. Other people are going to bring up their horror stories. This ripped me out of the game and sat me on the bench. And some coaches in the room are going to be like in their 50s and 60s, and they're going to say, I remember that. I was 8 years old. Yeah. And I still remember that. So that kind of brings in, kind of links back to the power of negativity. Think about how long that memory stuck with them. And we as coaches right now are the ones delivering that message. What do you want to be, the one that the coaches are remembering in their 60s?
Right.
that coach and what that did to me. So that was, well, let me see what else I have. Oh, you said a couple of times, like, this isn't rocket science. I love that. I love that this is simple and the tools are simple. I think this introduction is the hardest part of the workshop because the principles sell themselves. I mean, we give them the philosophy, we give them the examples, we give them the tools. This introduction part is difficult. And I think you had that theme going, like, this is not hard. This is not rocket science. This book it blows your mind. It's so simple, but it's something you have with you. So I really like the way you did that. The pair share, you know, anytime you can do pair share, group share, especially when coaches are thinking about past experience, that's a time. A lot of coaches aren't going to be willing to share out loud. Like if you say, think of an experience in your life. For some reason, people don't like to share personal stories out in front of the whole group. So anytime I ask a personal question about a coach you had or a team you were on, I usually have them share in pairs. So you did a nice job with that. The idea of intrinsic motivation, I mean, that is huge. We do a whole workshop right now on mastery. It's actually like a second level coaches workshop. And that's a whole section of the workshop. How do we build intrinsic motivation in the athlete? So I love the way you put in a plug for that. I thought that was great. What else did I say? Oh, when you told your story about your coach that had a huge impact on you, and that's probably what got you to the D1 level, give me some details around that. Use the coach's name. Say something that coach did. You know, it's great to say, like, this coach really inspired me to want to go play D1, or this coach had a huge impact on me. But the coaches in the room want to know, what did he or she, what did they do?
Right.
So I would come up with something concrete. You know, maybe it was the way she treated the players. Maybe it was the way she, you know, would check up on you. Maybe it was the way she pushed you harder than you ever thought you could and believed in you. But I always say, like, use names, give the story a little bit of flavor, because it'll be memorable then. So that would be my biggest suggestion is just, you know, your stories are great. Also, don't be afraid to pull stories out of other people in the room. Yeah. Ask them to, you know, can somebody share for me or share with somebody about a coach that really had that impact? The same, after you show your story, how many of you had a coach that impacted you like that? You know, can somebody share with me what that coach did for you? Because that's what the introduction's about, is having these coaches think back, because most of the coaches are thinking practice tomorrow. What's my skill? What's my plan? They're not thinking about 5, 10, 20 years from now. They are leaving an impact. And what kind of an impact are they leaving? Are you just punching the clock like, whew, practice is over? You probably said a lot of things that are going to impact that little person for the next 20 years. So that's what the introduction is supposed to kind of tug on the emotions a little bit, get them connected, get them thinking, and let them have a little bit of fun and set the tone for the rest of the workshop. Okay. Yeah. So Bekah, I'm excited. I think as Al said, the only way you're going to go is up and get better every time you do it. And it's going to become more personal, more connected to you. You're going to get more comfortable with the material and, you know, use your flair worked in there. It's not going to be like you sharing PCA. You're going to be the same thing. It's going to be real to you. And so in the principal parts, when you get to it, I want you to think about it like when you get to filling the emotional tank, you believe in it. Obviously, I can tell the way you're talking about it. Bring that, make that real. And we've noticed there's a fine line between trainers sharing PCA material and trainers that are believing it. Yeah. Doing it. And, you know, if it's a little bit out of order, you want to switch an order of a slide, go for it. Because we never say you have to hit every single bullet point on every single slide, because you're giving them the dev zone. You're giving them a book. We want this teaser for them to want to learn more. We don't want to tell them everything in the workshop or they're never going to dig deeper. So,
yeah,
feel free to
remember it.
What'd you say?
And they're not going to remember it.
They're not going to remember what, 10% of it? But they will remember your stories. People remember stories and they remember doing. They remember like standing with the guy across the room and sharing about a coach that had a really positive impact on their life. So yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you want like the next demo that you do, pick a principal and you can do that principal for me. And then I know out in Portland, Al and Ben and Jack do a great job of having you do them live.
Cool.
Demo. I'm putting words in your mouth, Al, if that's still okay.
Yeah. Kelly, she's 40 miles away from us.
Oh, really? Okay. Wow, that's fun.
So
is it Portland? Is it still considered Portland?
No.
Okay. No. I don't know my Oregon geography at all. So
she's in the windsurfing capital of the world.
Oh, are you in Hood River?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's my husband's favorite place.
Oh, really?
My husband's a mountain biker and a windsurfer, and
you would get along.
Oh my gosh, he just, don't even get me started. He wanted to go on Hood River, and I was like, what? I'm a semi-windsurfer and semi-mountain biker, but oh my gosh, I didn't realize you're in Hood River. Okay, so I think I need to come out there personally and do a lot with Bekah so that I can see how she does. And
great.
You'd love it, Kelly. You'd absolutely love it. It's a beautiful part of the world.
My husband said that's like his Mecca. Like he can do everything he loves all in one spot.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's so good. Isn't Margaret Koenig out that way too, Al?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. We're becoming good friends.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm coaching her daughter.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Every time she's fantastic too. And she was a double gold coach of the year winner. And we've been trying to work with her finishing up and she's so busy. She's like, but I don't have a chance. I don't. And lacrosse,
she's a rock star.
Is she still coaching also right now?
She is. She's coaching the 7/8s.
Okay.
And then she's helping out with our JV a little bit. And I'm kind of trying to rope her into the varsity, but her daughter's playing, so she's trying to take a step back.
Yeah.
But she's helping from the sidelines.
Yeah. That's where I am right now. They need a JV coach at the high school. My daughter's on the team. And there's some like nepotism clause in the school board that I can't coach because my daughter's on the team, but they need a coach. And I was like, I'd love to do it.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is. It is. Well, thank you so much, Bekah. So I guess doing it live might not be the best option, but still you can do it for me. And you get 2 more opportunities, just as I said, just to practice. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Thanks, Al.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.